Does your mower sound like this, guys? If so, you're in the right spot. Welcome to my small engine repair channel. And as you can see, the issue with this one is that you have a surging up and down RPMs on this Briggs & Stratton engine. And I'm going to show you how to fix it. Alright, so I got you up on my lawnmower stand here, and I'll give you a little history on this one. It came in as a no start condition. It had very poor fuel in it. So previously I had already cleaned out the carburetor, cleaned out the fuel tank, and put it all back together, and actually ran good. Cut my grass with it for about 15 minutes. Everything seemed fine. Told the customer that it was ready to pick up, and they weren't going to be able to come for a couple days, so came back out today, fired it up, and what you saw and what you heard on the first part of the video is what I'm dealing with now. So that surging is guaranteed going to be some form of a carburetor issue. Now, again, I've already cleaned this carburetor, so it's pretty rare, unless there was some residual crap in the tank that I didn't quite get out all the way, that is now blocking one of the passageways in this carburetor. But what we're going to do is open this back up, take a look, and see if there is any obvious signs of blockage. And if not, I'm going to show you how to modify the carburetor slightly so that we can actually get this thing to run smooth. Okay, so we got two 8 millimeters and two 7 millimeter bolts to take off here. As you might have noticed already as well, I do have the top engine cover off, or the shroud, and that's because I thought there was also an auto choke issue, but it doesn't seem to be the case. So you take that off. Right now the auto choke is still a little bit open because it's still warm. This guy's a little bit warm. Once that cools down, this auto choke is going to close on its own. Alright, so once that's off, now what we're going to do is pinch off the fuel line with some form of pliers. Okay. I'm going to get myself a little rag just to catch any residual fuel. I'm going to take this fuel line off. I have a fuel line removal tool that I just made myself. If you're interested in how to do that and want to make one for your own shop or garage, you can click on the link in the upper corner now, and that will direct you to that video. Alright, now these ones are plastic, so you have to be very, very careful, these carburetors, on how much wiggling and how much prying you do on the actual plastic pieces of the carburetor. So this guy's almost off. There we go. And now the carburetor just slides off. Now there is linkages here that we have to worry about. So there's a choke linkage, and then there's a throttle linkage in the back. Okay, and these are both Z-bends, they're called Z-bends. So you're gonna have to, it's just pressure fit this carburetor. You need to pull that off, and then as you pull it out, I like to take off this rear throttle linkage first. So what I'm going to do here is pull this out, and then I'm going to rotate the carburetor. All right, and pull out that linkage. Same thing with this choke linkage, and now I have the carburetor off. Okay, I did lose a little bit of fuel. Also lost a little gasket, or O-ring, which goes on the back side of this carburetor. I could put that back on like so, and then that stays in there. Sometimes part of it stays on the mounting, so you just put that, it says pressure fit. Okay, snaps in there. All right, so we're up on my bench, and first thing I'm gonna do is take the float bowl off. There's two 7mm bolts on there. Okay, I'm just gonna get like a little dish here to catch any fuel that might be left in the carburetor. Now this thing is pressure fit on there pretty tight. In a lot of cases you can't just pull it off. So what you have to do is get yourself a big flathead screwdriver and kind of put it in here and pry those two pieces apart. Okay. And you do it right around where the bolts are, or went in. That's where you're going to want to pry this. See, it's moving a little bit. Okay, if that side doesn't work, maybe try the other side. Try a thinner screwdriver, sometimes works. All right, so there's some fuel coming out of there. So this thing is pretty tight. Just keep working at it. All right. Maybe try a smaller, thinner screwdriver, just so you can see. I stuck it in there and kind of have to wedge it apart. Okay. Sometimes just getting off one side is all you need, but sometimes you got to go around to the other side and wedge that in. Okay. Now the fuel that's in here is actually good. I put fresh fuel in when I cleaned out the tank. So a lot of times our culprit is this jet right here. This little brass jet. There's a hole in that allows fuel. But because of the environment and EPA, they are making these little holes in the jets smaller and smaller and smaller. And you're going to get, 1 year old, this is not even 1 year old mower that's actually running rough, because all it takes is a little bit of debris or gunk or something to clog that little hole up just a little bit, restrict the fuel even the slightest, and you're going to get surging and rough running or not running at all. So if you're not sure how big the hole size should be, just because you've never done this before, well, there's nothing wrong with taking a little piece of wire and finding a piece of wire that's about the same size as that hole and running it in and out. That one's a little bit too big. Okay, and you can see I'm running that in and out of there and trying, if there is anything blocking that off, clogging it a little bit even, then that's gonna kind of work that through. What I'm gonna try next is something called a torch tip cleaner. These are for welding rods. Okay, but I use them, I don't even have a welder. I use them for my small engine repair stuff. So you put that in there, you find one that fits that size perfectly. See, it's a little trial and error, but you find one that fits in there, and then because the edge is a little bit serrated, that will help to kind of clear out any gunk that has built up inside that little jet. Now these are very cheap, hardware store, Harbor Freight, something like that, probably less than $10. Okay. So I run that in there, and again, if there's a blockage, that's going to get that out. And you put it back together, and if it's still surging, there is a possibility that it still might surge. So your last resort, if it doesn't fix the problem, is you're going to need to pick up yourself a little bit, a set of these little mini drill bits. And again, Amazon, probably 10 bucks or less. And again, you're going to want to find the one that fits in there right now. Okay, so that one is too big. We don't want to bore out the hole too big. So what we're looking for is one that just fits in just perfectly right now. All right, so the one that fits in there without any resistance, as you can see there, just so happens to be 0.45 millimeters. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go up one size, and you really just want to do this one size at a time, guys. So I'm going to go to 0.50 millimeters, and get yourself one of these sets that comes with the little sort of drill part of it, that the holder, because otherwise these don't fit in just a regular size drill. They're just way too small. So this is just like a little manual drill. That's all you need. So this is 0.50 millimeters, and I'm just going to run it in. Okay, as you can see, it doesn't fit in there without me having to ream it out a little bit. And it doesn't take much, okay, because I'm only going up like 0.05 of a millimeter. And this might be the actual size of this if it's got a whole bunch of stuff clogged up on the side of it. Then you might just be reaming out the buildup and not necessarily reaming out the jet. Okay, so I'm going to try this one first. So I'll spray this all down with some carb cleaner, including in that jet, and blow it out with some compressed air. And then I'll put it back on, reassemble it and put it back on, and I'll come back and we'll test it together. Alright, so then I have it all put back together, guys. As you can see, it was running perfectly. So sometimes you just have to drill out those little jets. Just be very, very careful you don't go too far with it, because once you drill it out too big, you can't go back and it will continuously run on the rich side. So hopefully this video was helpful, guys. If you liked it, please go ahead and hit the like button down below. And if you're not already a subscriber, please consider doing so. It really helps me out on the channel. And till our next project, take care.